I sought out this subreddit to tell this story. It only happened a few weeks ago, and it's still very heavy on my mind. The college I attend has a history as a party college, but also has a record of assaults, muggings, break-ins, rapes, and all sorts of other crimes. Just this year, 2 students have been shot, and an upstanding member of the punk rock community was killed by a stray gunshot when a house party turned violent. I say all of this to let you know that I'm fully aware of it, and yet I'm still here. I don't have a whole lot of choice thanks to money, but I'm doing my best to stay alert while trying to finish my degree. I also work on campus, which until recently actually seemed like the safest place to be, the university newspaper. There were journalists here at all hours, and I only work from noon until 5. I've never had an issue in the parking lot, which is where I'm most wary. It was in the damn bathroom where I had my scare. There's not a staff bathroom, because the building is still part of the school. It's a 2-seater for the women's, and I presume a similar setup for the men's. The bathroom is maybe 25 feet down the hall from the door to the paper, so not a long walk, and not at all out of earshot of all the conversation and bustle. Getting back to the aforementioned event from a few weeks ago, I was walking along to the bathroom, having left my keys and phone in my office because why not? The building is safe enough, and I didn't think I'd need the little knife on my key ring. Until I noticed there was a guy hanging out by the end of the hall, just 5 or so feet past the doors to the bathrooms. Initially I ignored him. He was on his phone, and I assumed he was waiting on someone, or maybe just killing the time. But something about him kept bothering me. He didn't look odd. Tall, skinny, dark hair that was a little crazy. He looked like an unkempt and unattractive version of Dan Avidan from the Game Grumps, if that helps. Like if Dan had a creepy, grimy cousin. I remember distinctly that he had a heather gray t-shirt with a band logo on it, but I can't remember which band. His jeans were filthy, but I'd spent a semester apiece in ceramics and blacksmithing. You can get really dirty at this school and not have the option to clean up before your next class if you're unlucky. But it was the fact that he wasn't really looking at the phone in his hand that caught my attention. He wasn't looking at it, but around, and when he saw me, he immediately stood up straighter and started staring at me. I'm not pretty. I'm not really even that cute. I'm a bit overweight, and it's not carried in a shapely fashion. The best I can say for myself is that I do have a fairly nice rack, but yeah, that's about it. But he's staring at me, and I ignore it because, of course I do. Even though I'm already thinking I should just keep going, then circle back to the office and wait to visit the bathroom. But I don't. I tell myself I'm making a big deal out of nothing. I tell myself he's just waiting on someone, and yeah, maybe he's leering, but he hasn't said or done anything, so I should probably just be chill about it. Except as I go into the bathroom, I glance back and see that he's walking towards me. I step into the bathroom, which is basically a squat rectangle with a little protruding square where the door opens onto the hall, and then step to the side-by-side mirror. This puts me out of immediate view should someone walk in, and I'm only standing there for maybe 10 seconds before the door opens. Normally, these doors have hinges that scream like they're the victim of a slasher movie, but the door was being opened so slowly that it didn't make a damn sound. He steps in like he's sneaking, putting his feet down quiet and slow, and his eyes are fixed forward on the stalls. When he sees that both the stall doors are still open and the toilets themselves are unoccupied, he stopped and stared for a second, then noticed me. He jumped back about a foot, then turned and bolted from the bathroom. I followed him out just in time to see him sprint down the hall, take a left, and then book it out of the building. I haven't seen him since, and I did report it, but of course I was told by campus security that the cameras in the halls aren't actually active, because they don't have enough staff to monitor them all. Been following this sub for a while and felt like I could finally post my Let's Not Meet story. This all began in 2009 when I first met him. I first met Josh at an anime convention. We were both into LARPing, where people fight each other with foam swords. It's pretty fun and actually a good workout, and seemed to hit it off and became fast friends. I helped him start up a group to give other people who were interested in LARPing a chance to meet up and all hang out together. Things were pretty good at first, but soon I started to get really bad vibes while being around him. I don't know what first brought it to my attention, but there was always an off feeling if I was around him by myself. I'm a pretty big guy, so I wasn't intimidated physically by him, but I always had that unsettling feeling creeping up my back. Shortly after becoming friends, I noticed that he was a pathological liar. He would literally lie about everything about himself. He would lie about his past, his health, almost anything just to get himself some attention. He loved drama and would often be in the thick of it, starting it up. Being a LARP group and also being tied closely to the anime crowd, we started attracting younger people into the group. We were cool with it at first because it was more publicity for the group, and plus bigger groups mean bigger battles and whatnot. We were even featured in the city newspaper once because of how big we had gotten. Well, I noticed he would specifically pay attention to some of the younger girls in the group, like 14 to 15 range. By this time, the group had been around for a couple years, and I was becoming more and more aware of how much of a sinister person was under his facade. With these girls, he was always hovering around them, offering to teach them special lessons and offering to take them out places after the meetups. Also at this time, I had no idea how he was making money, because it seemed like he didn't have a job. He claimed that he was a massage therapist, but he had no license whatsoever. I'd like to take a short time to describe the kind of things he said that sprung red flags with me when I would see him. Aside from lying about almost every aspect of himself, he would constantly talk about his junk size. He would try to humble brag about it, like he was some kid in middle school trying to impress his friends. Well, he would do it around the younger girls a lot. He also tried to pass himself off as a professional cosplayer, and claimed he knew certain people he obviously didn't. There's a bunch of drama surrounding that he loved to be in the center of. Some of the lies he would say about himself. He would claim that he was Japanese, and that he was fluent in it, but he couldn't speak 5 words. He claimed he had a sister who had died in an accident. The picture he showed was a full-on Chinese girl, and the picture came from some obscure dating site. He lied about being in the military too, owning a business, and saying he was officially trained in firearms and melee weapons. That was another big red flag as well. He would talk about how he could hurt people without a single bit of hesitation, and soon enough, I had had enough of his shit when he tried to involve me in some kind of drama with a girl I'd never even met. Sometime later, he'd moved away from my city to go live with his new girlfriend. The few times I'd met her in person, I could tell there was something wrong. Like you could see some kind of deadness in her eyes when they were together. By this time I had stopped associating myself with that group since there was way too much drama, and I had been for a long time. So when I saw them, it would be with their group at anime conventions. I would see bits of drama pop up about Josh every now and then on Facebook, but earlier this year, I got floored by a news article that popped up. In 2012, he drove up to her dorm building to visit, but actually moved himself into her home. The whole story is in the news article I'm linking. When the girl escaped him, she posted more detailed things about him on Tumblr and what kind of things he'd done to her. From what I know, he's still in federal holding and is still awaiting a court date. What floors me is that even though people now know he's a previous felon, was knowingly violating his probation and did some nightmarish stuff to this poor girl, they still feed his ego instead of trying to get him the obvious help he needs. From my years knowing him, he is and was always a predatory, manipulative, pathological liar that would do anything to try and make you believe his lies. And now hopefully, he's met with the proper justice he deserves, and maybe he'll get some of the psychological help he needs. I wanted to share something very eerie that happened practically in my backyard. Please forgive me as I'm sitting alone at night, scared and still shaken. First, I suppose I should supply some context. I'm a workout addict. I love to lift and run. I run about 12 miles a week typically, 3 miles 4 separate days. Every day that I run, I take the same trails that surround a lake in my hometown. These trails are relatively secluded, however, usually have fellow runners and wanderers scattered throughout most times of the day and early evening. I always run through a particular trail that's my personal favorite. It's very near my home, not even half a mile away. This past week, my local gym was closed due to renovations, so I filled my week with about twice the amount of running as I could not lift. Because my sudden increase in running, my tendonitis flared up. I always get overzealous and do that to myself. This will come back to play in a little bit. Now, I'm hoping I'm able to describe this little picnic area and make sense. At a certain point, the trail guides you to an adorable picnic area. There are parking spaces and picnic tables equipped with grills scattered throughout the lakeside area. Families are grilling here constantly, and it's lovely. Behind a certain table, off in one of the more secluded areas, there's a great little trail of dirt leading to a lovely cliff overlooking the lake. I've hung out here alone since childhood, as we always have had a rather safe area. I promise this will be important later. I was finishing up what would be my last run before my tendonitis flare-up, thus forcing me to rest. It was dusk, and I was just about to cross through the adorable park and onward through the trail towards home. When I hit the park, I stopped, thinking I might head towards my beloved hidden trail to take a brief rest on my favorite cliff. I'm not one to be paranoid, and I'm quite adventurous, but after hours on Let's Not Meet, I decided, maybe not, and picked up my speed. I noticed a van parked there, but there were usually people there. I didn't think much of it, maybe a fisherman, and moved along, so thankful for that. The next day I had such brutal pain from overdoing my workouts that I could hardly walk, let alone run. I took some time off. This morning I wake up to a news update from my news app, stating that police are investigating a dismembered, burned female body found at the lake a few hours before I had woken up. I opened the article, only to find worse news. Where the body was found burned and gruesomely chopped was just in my favorite trail, right between the picnic table and my beloved cliff, less than 1 mile from my home. The area I run through 4 times a week. The same area where I almost explored just a night or so ago, as I'd done since I was in elementary. The same area that my Let's Not Meet paranoia had averted me from that evening, with the same sketchy gray van I thought nothing of. They're still investigating. Nobody's been caught yet. I'm less than a mile away here, sitting in my dark house, praying that whoever did this gets caught fast. All I can say is how thankful I am to be safe. I'm also so grateful for not being the poor soul to discover the body, because that could have happened to me quite easily. That is how much time I spend up there, and that is how close it is to me. Still don't have any clue if the van was involved, but it seems odd, especially since I have a couple of friends, female, who used to run in the same area, but stopped after weeks of seeing a gray van conveniently driving by each time they ran. I don't think I need to explain why we shouldn't meet, whoever you are, but congrats in making me terrified of my own backyard. I'm scared to look out a window for too long. What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here, as always. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far to the end of the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, please feel free to leave feedback in the comments below, or perhaps like, share, or subscribe if you feel so inclined. If you have a story you'd like to share, or you'd just like to chat sometime, go ahead and take a look in the description below. There will be links to all of my social media, including my Facebook, Twitter, and Gmail accounts. Go ahead and send me a message on any of those, and I'll try to include your story in a video or respond to your message as soon as possible. If you do decide to send in a story, please be sure to include in the tagline what the name of the story is, what the theme is if it has any, and how you'd like to be credited in the description of the video the story appears in. If you're curious at all about the music used in this video, that is always listed in the description below, by name in the order which it appears in the video, and I'll also have links to the artists as well, if you'd like to check out more of their work. So if you're curious about the music, go ahead and check down there in the description. Last but not least, if you guys have any constructive criticism, please be sure to let me know in the comments below, as I'm always looking for new ways to improve the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.